Hello all, welcome to the VoIP Traffic Analysis course on Pentester Academy. Now in this video, we'll use our newfound knowledge of DTMF recovery and see if we can recover the passcode of when a voicemail conversation is available. So typically, whenever you have a client, you would actually see that if you have a voicemail, there should be some kind of a visual alert available. And there are really two ways of checking this voicemail. One is you call from your own extension, in which case you do not need your passcode. And a common number is actually *97. While the second possibility is you're trying to check your voicemail, but from a different number, in which case you dial in *98. And after that, you punch in your passcode to authenticate, and then you can listen and access your voicemail. So let's actually jump right in. Now we're going to go inside the accessing voicemail directory. And the first example I'll take up is *97, which is accessing your own voicemail. And if you go ahead and look at SIP, click on telephony, SIP flows, flow sequence. So this is really 20.1 checking voicemail on 20.130. There may be some other traffic, so I'm going to apply an IP filter, though I don't think this would end up applying this to the SIP flows, unfortunately. Let's actually look at this, no big deal. Now, one of the important messages actually is notify. So notify contains information which the server wants to notify the client. So if you were to look at this packet, and we expand it, it's all inside SIP, we would actually find that it notifies the client that there is a voicemail message waiting. And we can see a 1/0. 1 is actually unread, 0 is read. So we know that the voicemail message is being unread and is available for reading. Now after that, the client is going to go ahead and call the voicemail number, and we can look at all of those details in here. So we see that the client is actually calling *97 or *97, whichever way you want to call it. And this clearly shows us, when monitoring the traffic, that this is an attempt to access one's own voicemail. And after that, we have all the other regular stuff. Now keep in mind, even though I'm looking at SIP and RTP, exact same thing happens for any combination of encryption. If you're able to decrypt SIP, you would be able to see this. Of course, all the final voicemail data goes over RTP, the DTMF goes over RTP, right? But the notify message is over SIP. And we can clearly see there is a DTMF1 and a pound pressed. Now, what is happening over DTMF can only be interpreted if you kind of go ahead and correlate that with the voice call. Simply because every IVR system may be different. So the user may have called into voicemail, been presented with a bunch of options, and he would have selected one, maybe for option 1, and finally he would probably have selected the pound key or something, right? We can very easily listen to the conversation. So let's pick up the completed one, play streams. Okay, maybe this is actually applying the filter. Let's actually remove the filter. There you go. Many of these plugins, work very unusually. The SIP flows one doesn't seem to honor a lot of the stuff, but the RTP one does when we apply filters. So I'm going to go ahead, increase the volume, and let's listen to this.
You have one new message. Press 1 for new messages. Press 2 first message. Welcome to VoIP training by
So if you
Academy.
notice, now we know the one getting pressed.
Press 3 for advanced options. Press 5 to repeat the current message. Press 7 to delete this message. Press 8 to forward the message to another user, or 9 to save this message. Press star for help, or pound to exit.
So if you were to look at the flow sequence, what you'd find is that DTMF 1 and pound were actually pressed, right? So we can actually see that DTMF 1 and pound were pressed. That basically means that selection 1 was selected, and then in the end the call was ended with a pound, right? Fantastic. So this is the case when you're calling from your own extension and hence no passcode is required. Now if we were to access the voicemail from any other extension, we would of course have to first of all dial a different number, *98 as we discussed, and then follow the instructions. So telephony, SIP flows, you can see we have the notify messages once again around, notifying there is a voicemail. Okay. Now notice we have DTMF 1111. So if you actually look at the PCAP, apply a filter for SIP, go back here, select the invite message. So this clearly shows that we are dialing *98 as expected. And if I were to click on play streams, remove the filter, play streams. Let's listen to this.
Comedian mail. Mailbox. Comedian.
So we hear 4 beeps, right?
You have one new and one old.
So we could actually hear like 2 sequences of key presses. We could hear 4 of them, and then once again, I think 4 or 5 of them. The whole idea was initially to punch in basically the extension for which you want to access voicemail, and then finally to access the passcode or to punch in the passcode. So the extension in this case was 4 numbers, which we can easily figure out by looking at the call flow. So we can actually see that at this point DTMF 1111 was pressed, and this clearly shows that this was the extension number which was accessed, right? And then after that, all of these other numbers, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. This seems to be the passcode, and then 1 was accessed to listen to the voicemail, right? Based on what we saw previously. And you can listen through all the options to kind of correlate this. Fantastic. So this is how you can actually take your understanding of DTMF and see how you can recover a passcode for a voicemail if you have the PCAP. And all of this can be very, very powerful because many of these things could be automated. Now, one of the things though we don't talk about in this course, it is very easy to rip out this audio and feed it to a speech to text API so that we can get a lot of these options and then correlate it with a timing diagram to understand which DTMF was played for what. And I'm sure a lot of really powerful deep inspection tools might already be doing things like these. Okay, so this is all I have in mind for this video. These are really just screenshots from what I explained. And if you're enjoying your time at Pentester Academy, please recommend us to your friends and colleagues. Thank you.